Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Deals for Dentists podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Block, and as always, I want to inspire, entertain, and educate you on the best tools and technologies out there. And my goal is to help make your practice and career more profitable, efficient, and most importantly, more enjoyable. And check out my latest book, Stress-Free Dental Implants, and my first book, The Stress-Free Dentist, which both can be found on Amazon or thestressfreedentist.com. And check out my upcoming personal development retreat for dentists called Roses and Thorns at dentalgrowthcon.com, which will be in Chicago on May 18th to the 20th. And it'll be at the Eaglewood Resort and Spa. And it'll be all about reviewing each other's strengths and weaknesses. And it'll be an all-inclusive, awesome event. Again, dentalgrowthcon.com. But enough about me. Let's get to my superstar guest here, Dr. Alan Stern. How you doing, man?
Eric, I'm happy to be with you, and you want to talk about superstar. I'm talking to one, and I am so proud to know you. I'm grateful to know you, and really delighted to be part of this conversation. That's so important. Thank you for doing it, my friend.
Oh, you got it. Now let's start with, I just want to find out how you got into dentistry. Let's start there.
Oh, how did I get into this mess? Well, I'm going to be really raw, Eric. I was raised in a home where a nice Jewish boy was supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, et cetera, et cetera. And I was a pre-med student. And back in the day, my 355 did not get me into med school. And I was down hard. In fact, I had to drop out of school. I had to drop out of college spring senior year because of an illness in the family. So all my friends graduated and went on to successful post-grad careers. And I'm sitting working in a retail store. And I didn't know what the heck to do. I didn't want to be a dentist, stick my fingers in people's mouths. That was disgusting. And it's funny you should ask me that, because I just spoke to my very dear friend, Mark Ladenheim, who's a cardiologist out in LA. He was my best friend in college. His dad, Dr. Bob, was my dentist. And we were out at the country club with Mark and Dr. Bob and their family. And Dr. Bob said to me in very New York crude terms, stop dilly-dallying around. Go to dental school, come to my office, watch me work, it's fun. And I went and watched Dr. Bob work. And he, seeing it over his shoulders is much different than seeing it looking at his fingers in my mouth. And Bob Ladenheim loved what he did. And I caught the fever. And Bob was the old-fashioned community dentist. Everybody loved him. Everybody called him Bob. And man, it just lit a fire in me that the heck with sticking fingers in people's mouth, the heck with working with these ookie-gookie materials. I like what I see here. And that is what motivated me to apply to dental school. And it took me 2 rounds to get in. And if it wasn't for, and the point I want to make, Eric, is that the rejection, the horrible rejection of what was a pre-programmed lifelong dream led to me being here. And there is no such thing as failure. Rejection is just, no means not at this time. Sometimes no means check for plan B, because you are exactly where you're supposed to be, as I was 40 some years ago. So don't ever be disheartened. And I think this is a stress-free dentistry kind of thing, where don't be disheartened where you think life is letting you down. Life is just leading you somewhere. And it led me to this, and of course, a friendship with you.
Man, I love that where you said rejection just means not at this time. That is such a great way to put it. Now tell me about your career in dentistry. Are you still practicing? Are you in private practice? Where do you practice? Tell me all about that.
Here I am. My associate took off today, so I am here at Alan G. Stern World Headquarters. I am a solo private practitioner on the Jersey Shore, the land of the free and the home of the bribe, where rudeness is a way of life. And I've been practicing here at this location for 35 years. I was an associate in a practice for 5 years prior to that, after a GPR. So I am a one-person, small, high care, high touch private practice. And that's who I am. I modeled a lot of this subliminally after what I saw in Dr. Bob. And I come in and I enjoy myself. We have great times with the people we serve, formerly known as patients. I do adult restorative dentistry, and I don't do what I don't like to do. If you're under 14, I'd love to see you with mommy and daddy, but I don't want you in my office. If you need a root canal, God invented the endodontist for that reason. So the beauty of what I do, solo private practice, after a certain amount of time, you have a certain degree of autonomy of thought and choice and independence. And that's where I am. And I practice my way when I want. And I am content.
I love that. You practice and you do what you want to do. I'm the same way. I don't do any endo, not even anteriors, because I just don't want to. Same thing with pedo. Difficult extractions, I refer all those out. Really challenging bone grafts or sinus lifts, I just don't want to do those, so I refer them out. And same thing with cases where I just don't feel like I'm in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's what keeps you a happy dentist, is when you stay in your comfort zone. It took me a while to figure those things out. Now, personally for you, did you feel like that 1 year GPR and that 5 years of associating and that mentorship with Dr. Bob, was that key to figuring out how you wanted to practice?
The GPR was helpful. Back in the day, the GPR I was in was relatively unstructured, but it gave me it got me going. It gave me a head start on practice. I associated in a practice that was not a role model for me. In fact, I really had to unlearn a lot of the things that I learned. And it happens, Eric. I have friends who got into associateships that led to lifelong beautiful careers and beautiful relationships. I was in an associateship that had to end. And I had a non-compete clause. I obeyed. I followed it because I did not want the trouble. I opened dead cold 35 miles from where I had been an associate. And it was hard. It was really hard. I had to work in a corporate for 3 days a week, and I worked in my office 3 days a week. That was hard. But sometimes, once again, I wound up where I was supposed to be, and life pointed me in another direction, and I followed my heart. I followed my soul, and I wound up here. So the answer, in short, the answer is not really. But when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And when the luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. And so I got lucky. I was ready. The opportunity presented itself. I needed enough of a kick in the pants or a punch in the gut from circumstances to say, all right, summon up the courage to open up and get going from scratch. My son had just been born. My son was 1.5 years old when I opened up on my own. Talk about scared. But I followed my heart, and it worked out.
That's great. I went through some great associateships and some not so great ones, and I had one associateship where they did this thing where they didn't pay me, so that was one where I had to end that. I actually resigned on a napkin. I literally, they said you have to resign on a piece of paper, and I resigned on a napkin. A true story. But like you said, it was time for me to move on. And I am where I am, today, probably because of that. But
may I add something to that, Eric, please?
Sure.
You're a class gentleman. And I think that circumstance might very well have been a role model for you, how not to treat other human beings. You pay people, for heaven's sake. We see those stories all the time, Eric. We see it on the Facebook sites that you and I both troll, that people are withholding pay that's been legitimately earned. We gotta be moral, for heaven's sake. Morals before anything else, ethics before anything else. Come on.
Yeah, it's really not that hard. Just treat people like you'd want to be treated.
Yeah.
Associates come out and they're like sponges. They want to learn. They want to be treated well. Just treat them like normal human beings. And if you treat them well, guess what? They're going to want to work hard for you, and they're going to
Yes.
make you money. And maybe there's someone that you can groom to become a, partner, or someone that could even have skin in the game. Um,
Yeah.
and now, Alan, has your whole practice been all peaches and cream? Has
Oh,
everything
absolutely. Oh,
just been
yeah.
gravy,
Oh,
gravy
yeah,
train?
Eric, come on. It's the good life, baby. You know what, Eric? My car ran out of gas yesterday. I had to throw it away and buy a new one. And my
That's how
wife
great.
is driving me crazy. She doesn't know where we should buy our 15th vacation home.
That's that's first world problems. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to uncork a secret here. I'm working on two new books. One of them is going to be a workbook to my original book, Enjoy the Ride, but the other one is going to be a book of Alanisms. And Alanism number one is show me a person without stress, and I'll show you a cadaver. And somewhere down the line is show me a person whose life and practice are absolutely perfect, and I'll show you a liar. We
Mhm.
all run into problems, and I made some significant mistakes, as I'm sure you did. I'm sure everybody did. But one of the mistakes I made was I tried to prove myself. I tried to be something other than what I was and am. And I was earning at a certain level, but I saw everybody. I saw the great Dr. Eric Block. He's got this enormous mansion, and I had to have a big house. So I bought a big house. And then Dr. Eric Block, his car ran out of gas and he had to throw it away and buy a new one. So I bought a big car. And everybody in the world knows Eric Block. So I had to get on radio and do some live advertising. And that was fun, man. I was a local radio celeb, but that cost me a fortune. And what was happening was I was under the tutelage of a marketing agency that did not have my best interest at heart. They were not the right one for me. I had a financial advisor who was not right for me. And all of a sudden, in my 50s, I found myself living paycheck to paycheck. I was doing good dentistry. I finished the Pankey Continuum. I'm good. But what I did was I blew it because I was spending as much or more than I was earning. And I had to sell my house under duress. And when that happened, I cried, Eric. I truly cried for a month until all of a sudden we had money in our pockets and our cash flow was positive. And when a patient said they didn't want to take treatment, all right, so what? Next. And life got really good. So out of that tremendous stress, that tremendous self-imposed pressure came me understanding who I am, my finding a purpose, my finding the right advisors and coaches to help me get where I am today and to help me become a better dentist, a more effective dentist, and to be what I am here to the dental community to show people that there is a way to find happiness and prosperity in this profession, even today. So stress, again, if you handle stress properly, Eric, and you know this, I'm not telling you anything you're not familiar with. If we look at stress as a vehicle to guide us to where we need to be, it's a good thing. If we sulk in self-pity over stress, then it could take us down.
Now, was that like a eureka moment for you when you had to sell your house? Was it a series of events that happened? And one thing that you mentioned, there is no worse feeling than when you have to sell dentistry to
Yeah,
be able to pay the bills.
yeah,
When you're yes, we have to sell dentistry, we have to sell that treatment, we have to educate patients so they move forward with treatment. We're selling ourselves.
yep.
But when a patient says no and now you're worried that you can't pay your bills, there's no worse feeling than that.
No, you have to get the 800-pound gorilla out of the room. And a lot of the calls that I get from Dennis, Eric, are on this very thing, that Some people are, and we want to be happy, but that tri-phrase, money can't buy happiness. There's only one thing money can buy, that's poverty. But it's not about the thing beyond a BAM, a bare ass minimum. Can I say that? I'm in New Jersey. I could say that. Beyond a bare ass minimum, what do you need and what do you want? And it is very important to understand this, that having to sweat, if Mrs. McGillicuddy is coming in and she needs that all on four, but all she can afford is a plain old denture, that cannot be the end of the world for you. You must, it's imperative that you live below your means. Know what your bare ass minimum is personally and in your office if you're an owner. Know how much more you would like, and key, what are you willing to do for it? That is so important, because the last thing I want is at 3:00 on the 30th of the month for Mrs. McNasty to come in and say, Sonny, I have a 3-hour appointment with you today and I only want a filling. I don't want to care about that. I don't want to get a punch in the solar plexus because of that. Okay, we'll take care of you. And if they say no, here's another good lesson. No does not mean no. If you present an all-on X and the individual is not ready, and they say those terrible words, I'll think about it. The worst thing a dentist wants to hear is those 4 words. But it may mean not at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So you just coolly say, all right, we're ready when you're here. We're here when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be, you really want to look carefully at your finances with a professional and really determine what you need to live, add on the extras, and go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And anything above that, you work for, you pay a price for it. What price are you willing to pay to get that? Very important.
You seem like you use humor a lot. Is that a big portion of your interaction with patients?
Yes. Eric, I don't know if you believe this or not. Just sit down and fasten your seatbelt. But I get stressed out every now and then. I don't know if I should say that, but big secret, and listeners, please don't tell anybody that. But dentistry, and you may not know this, Eric, because you're a little naive, but dentistry is a stressful profession. I don't know if that's a revelation for you or not, and it's also stressful for the people we take care of. And for me, my style is to joke around. I take my work seriously. I listen to the people I take care of, formerly known as patients. We don't have patients in this office. We have friends. That's a whole nother discussion. But to break the stress, in my world, humor and laughter are so relaxing. The shortest distance between two people is humor.
Mm-hmm.
And once you break that tension, both within you and within that other person who sees that handpiece or that file or whatever it is, the world gets a little different and it becomes just much more pleasant. Why shouldn't it be pleasant? Why shouldn't we have a pleasant environment? We don't need to be formidable. We don't need to be that way.
Yeah, I also found that as I've opened myself up more to patients and let them more into my life, and just act like a regular person, they become less stressed. When I let this wall down between me and the patients, and I really just opened up about my family, my kids, and whatever I have going on. I used to feel like I had to be this, professional, and I'm the dentist with the white coat and the loops on, and they didn't need to know about my personal life. But now I let all that go, and it's just it's such a better way to practice. Now I wanted to wrap up with a couple final questions.
Sure.
One, I wanted to hear more about your book, and about how you coach dentists. And then also, number two, what is some advice you would give to a young dental professional out there?
Okay, so first of all, my book, thank you. That's an honor and privilege to talk about my book. It's called Enjoy the Ride. And if you go to Amazon and type in Enjoy the Ride Stern, you'll find it. It is my story and the lessons I've learned. And it really is about this American dream being about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's not I'll be happy when I earn this. It's not I'll be happy when I finish the Pankey Continuum. It's not I'll be happy when I could have a podcast like Eric Block. It's I'll be happy when whatever those things that drive me are fulfilled. Happiness is a choice, and you have those choices in our beloved profession. What and I'd be honored. Those book sales. It's not an expensive read. It's a very easy read, and it could change your thing. I've got so much feedback from dentists all over the country who've read this book and have said some very kind and beautiful things to me that touch my soul. And I'm not being trite. It really, every time I get a feedback like that, it really does warm my heart that everything that I went through is now serving as something that will help another dentist. Young dentists out there, what I want you to understand is that very thing. Pursue happiness. Live below your means. Practice gratitude. We hear a lot of that, and it's really true. Somebody told me about 15 years ago, gratitude is a new currency. And it really is true. When you come from a place of gratitude, you'll always be coming from a place of happiness. And the other thing, really and truly, get this in your head. Get out of the perfection trap. In fact, get the hell out of the perfection trap. You will never be perfect. Eric, your dentistry will never be perfect. Mine never will be. Neither will all of the people we see in our CE courses, all of our clinical mentors. They're not perfect. They're the first ones to tell you that. Be a little bit better tomorrow than you are today. Don't beat yourself up over that open margin. Don't beat yourself up over that endo that's a 0.5 millimeter long. Rather, take a look at it, see what you can do about it, and address it from a place of goodness in your heart and sharpness of your intellect. Let that govern you, and you will never go wrong. And you will always, there's no such thing as always, but much more often, radically more often than not, you'll have a low stress practice in life, and you'll build relationships with human beings you won't have a tug of war with them. Come at it from a place of goodness, and you'll be all right.
Oh man, Alan, that is such great stuff. The only person that in the world that thinks I'm perfect is my mom, Judy, and I keep telling her I'm not perfect. But that is such great advice. Again,
Thanks.
Dr. Alan Stern, thank you so much for joining us, and let's be in touch.
My great honor, Eric. I will see you real soon, my friend. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.